From 5 News, I'm meteorologist Stephen Elmore. This is your 5+ extended forecast. This morning was much cooler outside. Temperatures started off into those low to mid 40s across northwest Arkansas, those upper 40s and low 50s across the river valley. Cool mornings continue over the next couple of days, but it's cool, dry air. We have much lower humidity right now, and that is increasing our wildfire danger. Had grass fires yesterday across I-49 northwest Arkansas, so we'll have to watch out over the next couple of days for that fire risk danger outside, with the combination of how dry it is outside and how low the humidity is. We are going to see a warming trend later on this week, really Thursday, Friday into the weekend. For Saturday, we're going to be seeing those highs back up into the upper 80s, low 90s. Humidity is also building back in, but as soon as it gets warm again, another cold front is coming by the time we get to the end of this upcoming weekend into early next week. And we'll take a look at it in a little bit at that 10-day forecast. But some big changes potentially coming to how cool it's going to be next week. We could be seeing our first daytime highs in the 60s in quite a while. We'll also have an update for you on Hurricane Milton, still in the Gulf right now, expected to make landfall in Florida as a major hurricane by the time we get to Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. Northwest Arkansas heading into tomorrow morning, another brisk morning to the start of the day. Temperatures will start off into those low to mid 40s, clear skies outside, winds while light still coming down from the north. Those daytime highs will eventually climb up into those low 80s. Another day where we're going to see plenty of sunshine like it's been the past several days. Across the river valley, daytime highs will warm up into those low 80s, but we'll start off into those low 50s heading into tomorrow morning. Here's a look at Futurecast for tomorrow. We could see a few passing clouds here and there. Mostly, we're going to see lots of sunshine. There's going to be a disturbance further out towards the west, where I think the Tulsa area could get a sprinkle or two. We aren't expecting much of anything, though, when it comes to that rainfall. Again, future dew point values, the humidity outside the past couple days, really since we had that cold front that moved in this past Sunday going into Monday. That's what dropped the temperature and also took away all the humidity, filtered in that cool, dry air. Today we have low humidity. Tomorrow we're going to have low humidity as well. So yes, it's going to feel amazing outside with the cooler temperatures and nothing in the way of any humidity. But what it's doing, and it's bad for our wildfire risk. Those fires allowed to burn hotter and brighter and faster with that lower humidity outside. Dew point values going to be into the upper 30s and low 40s across northwest Arkansas, those low to mid 40s across the river valley. Later on this week, we'll start to build that humidity back, but it's kind of the in-between, not necessarily a risk to our fire weather, but it's also not terribly uncomfortable outside by the time we get later on this week as that humidity starts to build back in. Burn ban list for you. One county added in eastern Oklahoma. That'd be Delaware County for us. Across northwest Arkansas, we've been having those burn bans. Started with Madison County last week, and this list has grown ever since then. Yesterday, we added Sebastian County to the burn ban list. Only counties left outside of that in eastern Oklahoma, and then Scott County still has not issued a burn ban, even though the Arkansas Forestry Commission has listed Scott County underneath that high risk for wildfire danger. Here's a look at that list. Oklahoma has a different way that their Forestry Commission runs things. They don't provide whether it's going to be a high risk or an extreme risk or a low risk. So that's why you don't see anything in our eastern Oklahoma counties. But where we do collect that data in the Arkansas Forestry Commission, they are listing northwest Arkansas, the entire river valley, underneath that high risk for wildfire danger until we get some substantial rainfall back into the forecast. And I'll tell you what, right now, it doesn't look like we're going to see anywhere close to what we need. Late next week, we have some rain chances that you'll see pop back up on the forecast. Right now, though, there are only 10-20% chances of a scattered shower or two. To get us out of this drought that we're in right now and to relieve us from the burn bans and the high wildfire risk, we need substantial rainfall. We need a cold front to come along. That's not only going to bring in the cooler air, but it's also going to bring in much needed water across the area. We'll take a look at how far behind we are for those rainfall totals coming up in just a little bit. Again, warmer air going to filter back in later on this week. Again, cooler air still lingering at least through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into the weekend. That's when we start to build that heat back in. I think Saturday is our warmest day, where we could see those temperatures back up into those low 90s before, by the time we get to the end of the weekend, another cold front is coming right along. Morning temperatures over the next couple of days, brisk outside, I would say. Cooler, I would say, for northwest Arkansas, starting off into those low to mid 40s through Thursday morning. We warm up heading into the weekend, and then Sunday evening going into Monday morning, that's when that next cold front arrives. Tuesday morning of next week, we're going to come close to maybe seeing temperatures right at that 40-degree mark in the morning hours. So starting to get a little bit cooler, right, as we get into deeper into fall, starting to see maybe those highs back up into only the 60s later on next week. Across the river valley, we'll start to warm up all the way through Sunday night into Monday. That's when that cold front arrives. It's another dry cold front. It's not bringing any rain, but it is going to bring in some cooler air. Once again, here's a look at where we stand right now when it comes to the rainfall for the year. So far for 2024, Fayetteville has observed around 31 inches of rainfall. Our normal is just shy of 37 inches of rainfall, so for where we should be for this time of year. So that's why when you look at the drought monitor that gets updated every week, we're seeing that extreme drought across northwest Arkansas, because we're close to 6 inches below of where we should be for rainfall totals for 2024. Across Fort Smith, we haven't necessarily been talking about an extreme drought. We've been talking about how it's been dry, but when you compare it to the drought monitor, you start to see a little bit of a difference. Why is it dry outside, but we're not necessarily in an extreme drought? We built up a surplus over the summer where we had July and August about 2 to 3, even 4 inches above of where we should have been for the month. So July 2024 and August 2024 were really wet months for the river valley. So we built up that surplus. We've observed just shy of 40 inches of rainfall. Normal value around 36 inches of rainfall. So we still have about a 2-inch surplus in the river valley right now when it comes to that rainfall total. But I'll tell you what, this drought that we've been going through, this dry stretch that we've been going through, has quickly taken away that surplus. And if we don't get substantial rainfall sometime soon, I think we'll see both northwest Arkansas and the river valley really starting to have some drought concerns. So we just talked about how northwest Arkansas close to 6 inches of rainfall below of where we should be for this time of year. That's why you see this extreme drought starting to develop across Benton, Carroll, Washington, and Madison counties. Across the river valley, where we built up that surplus, it is shrinking. That drought, those drought-like conditions are coming closer and closer into the river valley, but we're still not in a terrible way right now. It is still very dry, though, even though we are not necessarily showing up on the drought monitor. You say, hey, the fall foliage, so the river valley is going to be better than northwest Arkansas. Sure, theoretically, yes, it would be for the fall foliage, but we've been so dry and we've been so warm that I really think all of western Arkansas and most of the state, for that matter, is going to have a really bad year for coming when it comes to the colors that we could see outside for that fall foliage. No rain chances anytime soon. Again, another cold, dry cold front coming in by the time we get to Sunday night into Monday, heading into next week. And this is like the third cold front that we've had so far that's moved through. That you see this big drop in the temperature that hasn't brought any rainfall. Well, later on next week, we're going to see the chances of some rainfall coming back. Again, we talked about it. It's not great rain chances right now. It's definitely nowhere near what we need it to be, but they do come back into the forecast just a bit. And here's a look at the Climate Prediction Center over the next 6 to 10 days. Above average temperatures continuing across western Arkansas. We're going to see those daytime highs warmer than what they should be for this time of year. And also, over the next 6 to 10 days, still into that really dry zone where we're not seeing any rain chances coming, at least for the short term. When we look at the long-term data, still showing still warm for this time of year. Even mid to late October, we're going to see those warm temperatures, and we're still dry, still not seeing any huge relief coming anytime soon. So that's going to continue to worsen those drought conditions. That's going to continue to make the fall foliage not pop as much as it should be. If we had a surplus of rainfall and we had some consistent rainfall coming, that would help us, see some of those brighter colors. This year doesn't look like it's going to be likely. Let's change gears a little bit, move away from the drought. That's going to continue to worsen as long as we continue to see no chances of any substantial rainfall. If we move down to the Gulf now, this has been a national story as well. Hurricane Milton. Yesterday, it reached Category 5 status, where we saw it reaching some really crazy levels when you start to think about it in a meteorological sense. We had a Category 5 hurricane moving through the Yucatan where it was producing winds around 175 plus miles per hour sustained. Those wind gusts peaked up around 220 miles per hour. I've seen words used as a monster of a hurricane that was in the Gulf yesterday. It has weakened a bit. It is still a very strong hurricane as it is still pushing through the Yucatan right now, coming through the Cancun area of Mexico before it makes that turn up towards the north and eventually heads towards Florida. So wind gusts right now around 155 miles per hour sustained, much lower than it was yesterday. We could see another status reach up to Category 5. That's more than likely unlikely. I think we stay at this Category 4 status before it eventually makes landfall as either a Category 4 or Category 3. What Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert has been reminding us over the past couple of days is that here's something to remember. When we had Katrina, when it was in the Gulf, it was a Category 5 hurricane. And before it made landfall in Louisiana, it technically weakened to a Category 3 hurricane. So when we say weakened, don't take it for it as it's a weak storm, just that it's dropped from its Category 5, the largest scale that we have for hurricanes, as it makes landfall. Category 3 hurricane, Category 4 hurricane is still going to cause, unfortunately, a lot more disaster for Florida. And when it comes to the after effects of Hurricane Helene, the big headline that you've probably read a lot is that an issue that's going to play into a factor for Milton is that the debris that was caused by Helene is still out on the side of the road. It's still out, needed to be picked up by crews. They've only had less than 2 weeks to clean up the mess that Helene left. And it's more than likely not going to be cleaned up before the time we have the arrival of Milton, which is going to even add another factor to the potential disaster that we're going to be seeing on the west coast of Florida. Tampa Bay area, once you get into that low-lying area, a lot of water is going to start to collect. The storm surge could be anywhere between 10 to 15 feet high. That's definitely enough to eclipse the top of some houses. I know there's several counties that have mandatory evacuation orders, and then other counties that have just advisories for evacuating. We've heard FEMA, we've heard the governor say from Florida, it's not a storm to mess around with. All right, so Category 4 status right now. It's going to make its way up towards the north. Still is at Category 4. And then right now, the National Hurricane Center is expecting that it's going to continue to weaken, again, don't take that term lightly, into a Category 3 hurricane before it makes landfall right into the Tampa Bay area. What hasn't changed over the past couple of days is where the potential landfall will be. The only thing that's changed maybe just a bit is that the eye of the storm may be just south of Tampa Bay. Still, that looks like it's going to be the hardest hit area. And then it cuts through central Florida and eventually places like Orlando as still a major hurricane, potentially Category 3 before weakening to a Category 2 and still pushing out on the other side on the east coast of Florida as still as that hurricane status. So again, central Florida, even though it's going to be weakening, again, don't take that term lightly, it's going to be at least a Category 2 hurricane through central Florida before it comes out on the east coast as still a hurricane status before it weakens and continues to push off into the Atlantic Ocean. If there's a bright side to this, when it comes to what happened from Helene, right, is that sometimes when we see tracks like this where it cuts through Florida, sometimes we see it come back as it pushes off into the ocean back into states like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and up the East Coast. This doesn't look like it's going to happen in trends over the past couple of days, have not shown any signs of it. As it pushes through central Florida, it's going to keep on going out to the Atlantic, and hopefully we avoid any further disaster. We still are in peak hurricane season. This might not even be our last hurricane that we have to talk about. If we talk about the spaghetti track of where the potential landfall is going to come, all models suggest that it's going to be somewhere within the Tampa Bay area. If anything, latest model suggesting that it could be just south of Tampa, but still cutting right through central Florida and places like Orlando. Have already had those evacuations. Disney is shutting down. Everybody's kind of preparing for the worst here, as they should be. And they should be following the instructions of FEMA and government officials of what the process is going to be as Hurricane Milton approaches. No rainfall expected for us outside of some low chances across the Tulsa area and to eastern Oklahoma. May have some very, very low chances of a few stray showers over the next 7 days. It's not likely, though. More than likely, we're going to be dry. If we take a look at Florida, this is the expected rainfall that we're going to see. Anywhere between 8 up to 16 inches of rainfall will be possible, with central Florida becoming the worst area to be when it comes to the potential for some flooding. Southern Florida, I've heard we have actually a few employees that have friends in Florida. They've been saying that when it comes to the evacuation, not necessarily leaving the state, we're either going up towards the north here into the Panhandle, which, if you remember, was a bad place to be for Helene, or you're going south to Miami, where it's still going to be rainfall, but it might not be as bad as central Florida will be when Hurricane Milton eventually makes landfall. Again, Wednesday night going into Thursday is the latest update for you. Back here at home, Northwest Arkansas, plenty of sunshine. Wish we had a little bit of rain to talk about, but we don't have any in the short term, at least. We're going to start to see temperatures warm back up into those upper 80s, maybe some low 90s by the time we get to Saturday. Looks to be our warmest day. Cold front starts to come back in, heading into the end of the weekend and into next week. And here's what we were talking about. This next cold front, well, it's a dry cold front. It's only bringing that dry air, no rain. It's going to bring some much cooler air back to the area. This weekend, we could see highs into the upper 80s. By the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday, we could see highs in the mid 60s. Definitely the coolest we've been in a while. I'd say it's definitely fair to say Tuesday, Wednesday, we could have some 30 alerts back into the forecast, where we could see maybe our first 30-degree temperature reading in the morning hours for quite a while, since we had January, February, and March. We'll start to see those really cool temperatures lasting through the week. Again, I think we see those highs only climbing back up into the mid 70s by the time we get to the end of the work week. So definitely this weekend, going to be warm, going to be a little bit uncomfortable for October standards. But as we get into late next week, we're going to start to see some really cool air coming back in. You also see those low chances for a pop-up shower or two coming with the cooler air Tuesday, late into the week. Next week, we could see a stray shower or two. Right now, we only have 10% pops. We need something a lot more substantial than that to be able to help us relieve us out of these drought concerns that we continue to build. Across the river valley, going to be cooler over the next couple of mornings still, starting off into those low 50s, daytime highs into the mid 80s, comfortable outside still. Friday, Saturday looks to be the warmest, back up into those upper 80s, low 90s. I think even Sunday throughout most of the day is on the warmer side, into the upper 80s. Sunday night into Monday, that cold front comes along, and take a look at those daytime highs. Across the river valley heading into next week, low to mid 70s. Monday through Friday, really, really nice work week coming up for next week as it comes for those cooler temperatures. Could see stray showers or two Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, late next week. Don't expect much in the way right now of any widespread rainfall. So we got another warm weekend coming up this weekend. Saturday looks to be the warmest, and then Monday as you head out the door, really Tuesday, Wednesday as you head out the door is going to be really fall-like, and it's going to be comfortable during those daytime highs pretty much throughout the rest of next week. From 5 News, I'm meteorologist Stephen Elmore. That's your 5+ extended forecast.